Welcome back to another edition of Perfectly Perfect with Macadia. Tonight is one of those special edition. I have my best friend, long overdue, joining me, Aisha. You guys check the link in the. There's going to be a link in the description below. Keeping it real with Jolly. You can check her page out. And there's my sister Utaro. Tonight we're gonna have a discussion about things that happen in our childhood that we think are still affecting us and how we deal with them, how we identify them, and in turn, how it changes your perception on the things that you do. And it's not just things because it's, I say trauma, childhood trauma. Trauma don't necessarily have to be good. I don't necessarily have to be bad. It can be just about anything that, happened in your childhood. All right. So tonight I'm gonna start with Aisha. And before we go there, guys, do you think that things that happened in your childhood, plays a part in the way we think, the way we act, the way we handle ourselves with even our children, in relationships, and even bare minimal as our workplace? Do you think so, Aisha?
For me, a lot of things happened while I was growing up, and for me, I use that as a driving force to keep pushing with my life. And when I was younger, I experienced a lot of instability, a lot of fights with my parents, and a lot of moving up and down. And yeah, other things I don't really want to disclose, but yeah, those are some parts that I will talk about. And I personally feel like as an adult, it still does affect me, because sometimes when I have an issue with something, I just want to run away from it. I don't want to try to stay and work it out, because in the back of my head I keep saying I don't want the same situation to happen to me, or I might want to stay because I don't want the same thing when I see happen to my mother or whatever happened to me. So I might also even stick it out because I try to be stable, because when I was younger, that's all I knew, like the instability and the moving up and down.
Okay. And at what point did you, in your adulthood, did you realize that you were conscious or cognizant of the fact that you're keeping tabs or check on what happened in your childhood, that's probably might build up a momentum, or keep having to checking back to say, so I have to keep tab on this because I don't want it to catch up with me, or I wouldn't want the same thing to happen to me?
Well, there was a point in my life where I lost everything. I lost every single thing. I couldn't pay my bills. Kavir got kicked out of school. My child got kicked out of school. I had to move back to my childhood home. I had to start from scratch, really. And I even lost my child as well. So for me, that was the biggest negative thing that ever happened to me. And that's what I use every day to remind myself that I don't want my life to be a certain way. I don't want to what would you say? I don't want to
fall back into that
pattern or that scenario that happened to me. That scare me and put fear in me when I want to probably make a step forward to try something new, or to it put fear in me. It put fear in me, it makes me very afraid, wondering if something like that's gonna ever happen to me again. Not where my kids will die, but a financial setback like that happened.
Go back to that state of loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was lost in a lot of different areas at the same time for me.
Okay. There are a lot of adults who, and even when we venture off into relationships with people, sometimes we identify traits and characters about them that you aren't necessarily able to say, you know, why this person act like this or behave like this, or why. And then as you get or dig deeper into them as a person, because you guys are in a relationship or a friendship, you dig deeper into them, you get to identify little things in their family to say, oh my God. So that's why that person acts the way that they do, or based on something that you probably heard from another family member about something that they've been through in their childhood, and you get to realize that they don't necessarily have control over their actions, and they don't necessarily have control over the things that they might say, or they might react to something that you do because of the things that they've been through in their childhood, and they may not necessarily be as aware as we are to say, you know, say, me say that I come and I'm going to stop it in the track before it happens. So a lot of times we have to be patient with each other, because of the fact that sometimes they might not necessarily be able to identify the things that are causing them, or even realize that anything wrong with the way that they're acting, let alone to say that, you know, say it's because this is what happened to me when I was a child, and I think it's what is leading up to this, and so forth. Yeah, because
I'm aware that I the way I am now is because of my experiences. I am aware.
Some people are not aware, because some people in this 21st century that we're living in, there are still some people who are living in a very, very dark place. They're not aware. They're not cognizant of their behaviors. They're not cognizant of how they react to certain people's action, and a lot of times they don't even realize what triggers them. Now, Yutaro, what is it in your life currently, or what traits in yourself now have you identified and can link back and connect to things that happened to you, or things that you not necessarily happened to you, but what you physically experienced or saw, you know, growing up from, you know, maybe older siblings, your mother, your father, you know, what's your take on that?
Well, there are numerous amount of stuff, but I would say that I would choose the fact that growing up, I was like really, I admired my mom so much, and I wanted to see my mom so happy, but she was always a worried person. She was always worrying because my dad wasn't there, and it was 6 of us, and it was just all her. And she always wanted the best for us. She always wanted to make sure that we're in school, we had cute stuff, and then she couldn't afford it. And so she was always worried, and she didn't even have to say that she was worried. I could feel her.
Me too.
And so I grew up being a worried person. Like, everything worries me, even when it's an issue that I can work through or I can figure it out. I worry about it, and then I catch myself and I say, like, why are you worrying? Like, something that you can fix. It's something that can
It's fixable.
Yeah, it's fixable.
That you can easily work
So
through.
then I started saying, you know, so me not make no worry in a life. Me not make no worry. If you play them for wash, I'm gonna wait.
Okay, then.
Because
Learning something, Maki?
yes, because simple stuff like that used to worry me. If when I was living with my mom and being there, and she come in and she said, Lord, why this not done, and why the place look like this, I'm going to be the first one to get up, or I feel so guilty and I feel so worried, and I'll be the first one to get up and say, no, I'm gonna just get up and I can't. That's a trait that, or should I say, that's one thing that I wouldn't say it affects. Would you say that it's affected me?
Yes, it affects you, because it in turn sometimes probably will lead to you being anxious over things that are so simple.
Anxious, and
yeah.
it leads to me being an overthinker and things deep into stuff when it's not even that deep. So yeah.
Okay. So, you know, what steps or actions have you taken in terms of, you know, I am aware that I am a worrier, and I can connect the dots to the days when mom used to be worried and overthink. You know, what steps have you found yourself taking to alleviate that, or to say, you know what, I remember, and I'm aware, I'm cognizant that this is what's happening, and this is what I'm going to do to, you know, make sure that I don't worry about everything and stay present, because it's always important, guys. It's important to stay present in what it is that's going on. It don't necessarily mean that thing that you stay present in is going to be the good portions or the good periods of our lives, because that everything being good in life, that's not life. Yeah, we just exist, we not live. The reality is that you have to stay present, whether it is that things are good or things are bad, things are broken down or things are being built up. You are living through your peak moment or you're living through your valley moments. It is important to stay present, because you know what? A lot of times when we're going through those valleys, it's there are learning curves and things there that you can take away from what it is that you're going through. So sometimes if you don't stay present in it, you miss that.
Yeah.
So what are the things that you employ, or how you track yourself and make sure that you're not slipping into these cracks all the time, but you stay present in what's going on despite of your worrisome moments and
So
stuff.
if it like 5 years ago, I would like say I didn't know how to really channel it and how to deal with it. But as I get older, I basically tell myself I'm not going to let anything worry me, because I want to live an healthy life, and I wouldn't want to develop anxiety, because that's where it was going. And so I had to just curb it and tell myself I will not let this worry me, because it's something that I can fix. And then I practice deep breathing, and I just pray. I pray about it, and I just started to practice being positive and like
Grateful,
gratitude, and just rebuke negativity. So
Yeah.
Well, the whole word something, that's a thing for me, and I think I never realized until she just said it now, that I worry a lot
about the future.
Yes, I worry a lot about, and a lot of times I get to miss. Like the other day, when I was sharing with you about the job, the shift in the job situation, and let me tell you, it was the greatest blessing. It was the greatest blessing, and I missed it because I wasn't present. I was so caught up in complaining about, the door just locked on me right now, and I wasn't ready for the door to be closed. It should have remained open until I was ready to step out of it. I mean, lock it myself. But we don't realize sometimes that that's not the way the universe works, or whatever it is, that whatever forces that you believe in. I believe in God, and I also believe in the universe. So it don't necessarily mean that that's how the creator works, And I missed
so she was
it.
really worried about a door that's closed, but a door was already open for her.
And I missed it.
But why are you looking behind you?
I was so fixated.
And I was saying, Max, normally it's one door closed and the next is open, but your door was open
simultaneously.
Yeah.
One locked palm and the next one open. Matter of fact, the other one was open before the other one was locked. Believe
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it was.
Minutes apart, and I was so fixated on
the closed
the
door.
closed one that I miss being grateful in the moment of what is really happening. And guess what now? It's something that I've been anticipating and wanting and working for and pushing for such a long time. And I completely missed it. I missed the momentum of celebrating the fact that yes,
it's finally open.
Finally open. I missed it because I wasn't present. And it wasn't until you just said it now that looking back, and I realized that yes, that is true. Mom used to be really, really worried, and it's sweet. Sometimes I catch myself and I'm like, what am I so anxious about? What am I so worried? But sometimes me in some real heavy breathing and I'm like, okay, what am I so worried about? And especially when the thing happened and you even fix it, and I say, oh my God, what am I not going to find in the first place?
I remember when
you have to learn to stay in the present.
I have to.
I remember when I just left high school and I ventured out to work. That's like a tradition for us. And so I ventured out to get my first job, and more than one time I went to do my interviews. And because of me being so worried and doubtful and being negative, I kept on failing my interviews. And I cried all the time. I cried and I cried and I cried. And I realized, I was like, it's nobody's fault. It's me why I'm failing these interviews. And I started to claim those jobs. And I just tell myself that I'm going to be fine. I can do this. And I just motivate myself. And I started to, no matter what job I go for, even if I don't have the qualifications,
you
I
just
push
through and try.
It's a mindset. It's all in the mind.
Yeah.
And
only you limiting your own self.
Yeah.
So it's basically about growing. And once you can acknowledge what your issue is, you can work on it.
I think a lot of that is happening amongst my fellow, females, even males too, in this era that we're in right now and the generation that we're going. People are very, very aware. People are very conscious and cognizant of what is happening internally, subconsciously. Like for me, one of the things that that affected me from my childhood is I like she mentioned, our father never used to be there, and I recently it wasn't it wasn't recently. I've always been aware, but I wasn't able to name it. I wasn't able to name what that issue was. I wasn't able to speak about it because I guess lack of understanding, lack of awareness. I wasn't able to, but I realized that I struggle with the spirit of abandonment. Yes, because even when I'm in relationships, me check out before anybody else check out. Me left people before people left me all the time. All the time. You know why? I grew up with this emptiness of that one male figure that should have been there to reassure me that he's not going anywhere, no matter what happens, he's gonna always be there. I didn't have that when I was growing up. So even if I met someone that was exerting those kind of emotion towards me, I don't understand it. I don't understand that secureness of knowing that, this person is really here to stay, because these are the characteristics of a stable individual. These are the characteristics of a person that doesn't associate themselves with abandonment. So
okay, I don't cut you, but so because of that, you think in advance that you're planning in advance that person is gonna go.
I mean, before he goes,
yeah, even if it's not
even before
like
mentally.
That, yeah.
No, I'm not gonna say that I leave the relationship before they leave me, but mentally,
you're thinking.
Yes, the least argument we have in my mind is like, okay, so relationship you mash up, it done. It don't have to be nothing detrimental, I check out mentally, and the mind is a very powerful thing.
Yeah,
the things that we think about is what is attract, and that is my childhood trauma that bothers me even until today. I work through it, but now at this age that I'm at, over the years, like now when I sit and I look back and I was like, I probably met somebody back in the days, and I think that if I wasn't so unavailable, because I am unavailable. You know why I'm unavailable?
Because you're not in the present.
Because I'm not in the present. I'm not in the present, as well as because I'm anticipating being abandoned. Nobody now abandoned me, so I abandoned them first. No,
so it basically happened before.
It happened before it happened. So like I check out and I'm basically not there, but I'm there. But in this age that I'm at right now, I am more aware and I'm more conscious. And sometimes when I catch the trait happening, I'll speak to myself and I'm like, okay, that is not what is happening. This doesn't make any sense right now. Okay, there. Snap out of it and those things, and it is always a struggle.
I do that too, though.
Yeah, because
I do it too. Like when there's an argument, we start planning life.
Planning new
whoever.
the new portion of your life.
New life without the person.
Without the person.
Like that over and over. Because that means when I grow, my parents have things. My mother gone.
Right, they will stick around to figure it out. They stick around to
my mother gone.
Yeah. And another thing that bothers me from my past is that I associate feeling beautiful and feeling worthy about myself with having money. If I am broke, I am ugly. Yes, I'm telling you, it's the truth. If I am broke,
where do you think that's coming from?
Yeah. That's coming from because growing up, we grew up poor, we grew up disciplined, we grew up orderly. We had a wonderful mother who trained us in the right way, right morals, right standards, right principles, everything. But we grew up poor. And I remember a lot of time when we were kids and there were activities, there were events you can relate that we would have loved to be a part of, and we weren't a part of them because of the fact that our mother wasn't able, and again, she was doing it alone, and she wasn't able to afford those certain things. So from a little girl, I grew up, I associate being poor with or not having, with not being worthy. Because I remember say society where we live in and look for poor people either, And when you don't have nothing, nobody don't see you. But when you have little things and little something that go on for you, people gravitate towards you. I never, like me and my sisters, we never look, because if somebody from our past would listen to this video right now, they would say that we were lying. Because we never grew up, they never knew. Like we never grew up looking like the worst, like the worst, that we were less of a people. But deep down inside, it affects your your confidence or your self-esteem, and it makes you feel like, okay, so I have to have money, I have to have certain kind of things in order to feel worthy, in order to feel accomplished.
I remember that when we wanted to go to events, and there were kids from our community that I was in class with, and they were like, "Girl, your background yesterday. Your football match, and I wear this and I wear that," and I was like, "Oh God, I didn't get to go." And they used to call me house rat.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm a house rat, and it's not because my mom didn't want us to go. It's because we didn't have the cute stuff to go, and she didn't want to just send us looking like, you know.
Because at the time she was also going through something as well, and that we sometimes, as I was mentioning before, that when you have your partner or you have your friend, you know, I was even telling the same thing to my sister the other day, where she was going to an event and she had made some plans with somebody, and the first person didn't show up, and she was furious. She was like, "Why didn't she tell me?" And I was like, "Maybe she's dealing with something. You don't really know what she did at the time." Our mom was also going through something at the time, you know, may have been going through something at the time, but we probably didn't even realize, because I mean, it is, I'm a parent, we're all parents, and when we're there one place in our life where we're not able to provide for our children the way that we want to provide for them, it depresses you. It knocks you in a different type of way, because you're like, you know, they never asked to be here, and this responsibility is mine. It is for me to show up for them, and God, I cannot show up for these children right now. So she was going through something as well, thinking, you know, if she even said we out in a manner,
it's going to look bad
on her. Right. So, you know, it's so important for us to do that too with our friends and or in our relationship. Be open-minded, be able to identify that, you know, that I think this person is actually, you know, I go through something or struggle with something that they themselves aren't really able to identify right
or
now.
even speak on it.
Yes.
Like sometimes it's really hard to open up and to communicate, or even to find the right words. So
because you're not going to even open up to everyone.
But you know,
it's not everybody.
The world that we're living in, people be like, I don't even know who is who, or if they'll judge me. So nobody likes to be judged.
I tell you that
but it's always good to have somebody that you can open up to and
that's
talk
true.
to, because you know, it really helps.
So what I suggest is that, you know, with all of the things that are your trauma or your trigger, this is what I have been employing, and you guys tell me, you know, think about what you think you have been doing over the last couple of weeks, or since you have been able to identify these patterns in yourself and your traits. And I want you to think about, you know, what are the things that you have been doing. What I have been doing, first of all, is that I have been trying, first of all, to identify what my triggers are, what it is that triggers me to you know, take me back to that place in my childhood, or remind me of that trauma. Once I'm able to identify the trigger, sometimes we aren't able to avoid the triggers, believe me, because it can be something in your day-to-day life. It can be that sometimes you're not prepared for what somebody's going to say to you, and sometimes because of your perception, to somebody say something to you, but you interpret it in a different type of way where the person never even mean it to be, because of your perception. So sometimes if you can identify your triggers and avoid the triggers. If you cannot avoid the triggers, be open-minded. Understand that not everything that someone says is to be interpreted in a specific type of way.
Sure.
Yes, because sometimes it's our perception that changes everything. Somebody says something to you, and because you're battling with anxiety, or you're battling with confident issues, you're battling with your doubt, you're battling with, you know, right now in my life I don't feel worthy. Then somebody says something, and say, I want to that girl I do. But she really never made anything by it. Her intentions were pure, but your perception is
I try not to be like that though. I try not to be like that, honestly. Like, me try to be slow in responding, because I know how I used to be. So me try to practice slow to respond to a person.
I'm guilty of
so me can say the right thing when it comes me open my mouth.
I'm guilty of not being slow to respond. Every day I ask God to help me work on my tongue, because I'm telling you, I speak too fast.
Work on it, God. Nobody not eat no cranberry. Make me look so.
Sometimes I am not.
Work on our God.
Last week, I hold myself accountable, and afterwards I check myself and I went back and I was, last week I was in a forum and I was expressing myself because I felt like in the forum there was a lot of negativity, and I stepped out really loud and I spoke very loud on the negativity in the group in the forum. And when I spoke, I was anticipating somebody to attack me. So the person responded in the forum and they was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Girl, please. What do you mean, who is this?" And then she was like, "No, I didn't mean that. I was just asking because yes, you don't normally speak in this forum, so I didn't know who this was." And I was like, "Okay, I am sorry. It is me." I felt so bad. I was like, "I am sorry. It is me." I really interpreted it in a different way because I thought that she was coming at me because she didn't like what I said. But again, it was my perception. Me, I answer the people that will come at me because me burn out their negativity, Believe me. I'm ready to back myself 100%. So when she said, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "Girl, please, don't even ask who is this right now."
Oh my God.
Jesus.
So, my two factors are identifying your trigger, and if you can avoid a trigger, avoid a trigger. If you cannot avoid a trigger, what's your perception?
What's your trigger?
My trigger, it depends on which of my traumas. If it's my abandonment, then I know that my trigger is words. My trigger is words. If I hear somebody say something to me, I automatically assume me just kick off and I say, "Okay, you know what? You're not catch me now. I'm gone. And if it is my like, that worry thing, the moment I see something not go the way or I want it to go, I just jump like me and say, "Oh my God." I not even be open-minded to receive another part or something else that's gonna come. Immediately, me just jump in a word for it and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do this." Especially the time I'm spend a focus on, "I'm gonna go do this," me not even pay attention to the solutions and sometimes solutions present themselves, Sometimes solutions present themselves, but we're so caught up in thinking about the problem that whatever. So guys, based on the things that trigger you from your past, what are some of the methods that you implement to make sure that you keep yourself on track and you're keeping yourself accountable to not lose yourself in it or stuff like that?
So, I try to stay positive and talk to myself using positive affirmations and just sometimes, honestly, we are human. There are days when it consumes you, where you are aware and you know what's going on, but there are days when
you can't snap
you're just human, and none of us are superheroes or what should I say? Not all the time we know how to channel our feelings and put it into perspective. So there are days when I do just let negativity just
slide,
just make it just be.
Yeah. But if you stop at every noise, that don't make sense.
So therefore there are days when me say me try
and you push through,
right? Push through. I'm not going to let this, not today. And I am awesome. I am positive. I am amazing. And move right along.
That's also a big deal too, affirmations. I've been trying them. I've always, I struggle with it sometimes, but I've always. What about you, Shay?
Ask the question again. What?
I was saying that when you identify that you're slipping into that place where your trauma, your childhood trauma is getting the best of you in terms of you're struggling with.
Okay. All right. So as a result of how I was raised, not giving my parents any bad name or anything like that, but no life is perfect. But as a result of how I was raised and brought up, I feel like I'm very impulsive, like very, very impulsive with making decisions. So what I try to do now is think about the situation, rethink it, think about it again and again and again. Wait. I don't know if it's the right way or the right thing I'm doing, but me try to do that because me know, like, when me emotional and the situation stressing me, me jump and just make a
Yeah.
decision right on spot, and then maybe after I might have regrets. Sometimes being impulsive is good. Like if you're pushing towards your goals in life, nothing is wrong with being impulsive. It's either going to work or it won't. So that's a good impulsive behavior to have in that area. But relationship wise or general wise, impulsiveness, that's my thing that I try to work on.
So I identify that.
Yeah, and I try to push harder in trying to have like a financial stability for myself, because I'm afraid of going back to losing everything. So I try to push myself really, really hard so I can be stable financially. And because I lost my child, I'm very overprotective of my children. I suffer from anxiety because I worry about things in advance just the same when you come on to certain things. Yeah, so.
So what are some of the things that sometimes you know, as it relates to your loss and the way you're always overprotective of your, you know, of the kids? What are some of the things sometimes where you try to tell yourself to say, you know, or for instance, if your son wants to go down the road by himself or whatever, you probably might have think twice to say, no, I'm not going to go because, you know, you're fearful.
Well, I used to act that way with Javier, but I realized that Javier is a very sensible person. So I try to just let him go. If him say I'm going on the mall 20 times, I say, okay. It relates to even when them swimming or Nolan trying to do something, me kind of like keep and I grab them back, grab them all and kind of like, and I used to fear that Nolan wasn't gonna pass a certain age because of what happened. So I used to fret and worry a lot and watch him extra hard when he didn't hit that same age mark that my last child didn't make. Yeah, so that used to make me act really fearful.
Hey, fear is a bastard, you know. When
Yeah.
you tell you something that when you're fearful of something,
And like when you pass this, I'm like, alright, I'm 5. So that means I gotta go make him live. Like me talk like that.
and nothing was wrong with him that would have caused him not to
Yeah,
live.
but it's what happened.
You see that again, that goes back to another level, like another trauma, you know. May not have necessarily been you know, when you were kids, but I mean in our everyday life.
Something that happened.
And that's why we have to be so we have to be so what's the word I'm supposed to, we have to be so gentle with each other sometimes and be kind with each other, because sometimes we don't know what people are going through, you know.
You never know.
Sometimes we don't know what the next person is going through, and you come out, you know, you do some things and you say some things, and you're not gonna know, say, you know, what you say was gonna hurt somebody, but I mean at the end of the day you're still not being kind, you're still not being patient with people, you're just a snob, or you're just a carry on, you know, not knowing that what? Not knowing that, you know, such is the case. So anyways guys, this was a very interesting interactive session, the first of many interactive sessions on Perfectly Imperfect by Arcadia. I'm trying to change things up, still keeping it positive, still keeping it in the real, and still keeping it, you know, as it relates to our day to day, because I don't think anything is more important than being aware of what's going on with you, you know, in yourself and all of that. So guys, I want to thank you for, you know, listening. Thank you for giving us your time this afternoon or this evening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right. And thank you so much for being a part of this session with me today. Perfectly with Arcadia. See you guys soon. Bye.